Bezrat Hashem. So we start Perik Zayin, Pasuk Aleph. Beni Shmor Amarai, my son, keep my word. Shmor, heed my words. Umitzvotai titzpon itach, and guard my commandments. That's Torah, Yeah. So says the Gaon, Beni Shmor Amarai. He says Shmor mila avor al Amarai. He says, be careful from transgressing my word. Or he explained, and what that means, he says, this is referring to Limud Torah. And he says, be careful to let go of the Limud of the Torah. Why? Vehi tmidut. Because the Torah is accessible at all time. And therefore, if you have a downtime and you're not learning Torah, you're over. You're over on my word, meaning you're letting go of my of the preciousness of my Torah, of my word. So since the Torah is accessible at all time, Shmor Amarai, be careful to always learn Torah. Umitzvotai titzpon itach, and you should guard my commandment. Be'et she'avo zmanam, when the time comes, be alert, accessible, and ready to do the mitzvot. Meaning be reactive. And the Gaon explains that the next few psukim are addressing the four facets of the Torah, the Peshat, right? The Derash, the Remez, and the Sod. He says here, the Torah is talking about the Pshat. So he says like this, Pshat, meaning, what is Peshat? Pshat is to know what is written in the Torah. And Torah shebichtav, obviously, and Torah shebe'al peh, both. Yeah? The ma katuv. What is katuv? What is the Torah telling us? So he says, when it comes to the Pshat of the Torah, Shmor Amarai, be careful to always learn Pshat. And not only to learn it, to do Hazara of it, so that it can be by doing Hazara of the and learn of what you learn. That's how you keep the Pshat and you in your heart and fresh in your memory, and you don't forget it. Right? That's in terms of the limud of the Pshat. Mitzvotai titzpon itach. He says, guard, hold on to my commandments, guard my commandments. He says to make sure that you do them and you mekayem them. To be mekayem a mitzvah is more than to do a mitzvah. לשמור לעשות ולקיים. את כל דברי תלמוד תורתך, לקיים, it means not to miss the opportunity, any opportunity from doing a mitzvah. That's the kiyum mitzvot. לקיים mitzvah, it's making a mitzvah kayam. Kayam, present, alive. And real. So he says, you have to be careful to guard the mitzvot, meaning to be ready, right? Ready to, so that every time there's a mitzvah that comes, you're ready to do it, so that you are mekayem mitzvot. You are not just doing mitzvot. You're mekayem mitzvot. Good. Pasuk Bet. Shemor mitzvotai v'hyeh. Keep my commandments and live. V'torati ke'ishon einecha. And my Torah, my teaching, should be you should be shomer them, right? You should protect them. You should keep them like the pupil of your eyes. So in this case, we see that the mitzvah comes before the limud, right? Versus the pasuk aleph, where the limud comes before the mitzvah, right? So when it comes to the pshat, first make sure benishmor amarai, learn and do chazarot so that you know. And when you know the pshat, you can do, you have the awareness and the engagement to do the mitzvot as they come. Now he's saying, the pasuk bet, we're talking about already the drashot, the drash. It says, Shmor mitzvotai v'hyeh. He says, we know that what brings life to a person, the life of a person is tluim by mitzvot. When he does mitzvot, okay? Like the pasuk says, Asher ya'aseh ha'adam v'chai b'hem. When you do mitzvot, you live with it. On what are we talking about? The drusha Torah. And what is the drush? The drashot are made by who? By the sofrim, right? By the Talmidei Chachamim. For example, he gives two examples. If someone says, tefillin min Torah, he says, en tefillin min Torah. Someone that says that there's no such a mitzvah of the Torah, the oraita, to put tefillin. Said that. He doesn't know. Patur. Right? He's Amaretz. He doesn't know what's written. However, if someone says, Hamisha batim tzarich batefillin, the tefillin of the head should have 5 compartments instead of 4. He's considered a zaken mamre. He's considered a talmid chacham that deviated, and he's hayav mita bidei shamayim, bidei adam u bidei shamayim. Right? In this case, bidei adam. Why? Because he's mosif davar shebatorah. He's bringing something new, right? That was not passed along from the chachamim. He's changing what is written in the Torah, and for that is hayav mita. Worse than if somebody says there's no tefillin in the Torah. Bidei shamayim, I was somebody is chayav bidei shamayim, right? So if somebody says that mechila, if somebody doesn't read Kriyat Shema at all, he's patur, right? He didn't do a mitzvah taseh, but he's patur. We know there's a mahloket between Chachamim and Rabbi Tarfon. When you say if you have b'shorbecha, do you have to lean or not, right? Rabbi Tarfon says you have to lean. And we know the story, the Mishnah says that he was on the way and he tried to lean, and there were bendings that he almost was hurt by what happened. He put his life in danger, and the Chachamim told him, "Kedai hayta lahov be'atzmecha." Yeah, he says it's good that you should have gotten hurt from Shamayim, from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Why? Because you went against the drasha, the divrei Chachamim. So you see, somebody that goes against the drashot of divrei Chachamim, We see that according to Chachamim in that Mishnah, Chav mita b'dei shamayim, right? So we see that what the drashot of the Torah, the explanation of the Chachamim in what is written in the Torah and needs an explanation, needs an extrapolation of the words. Vahye is what brings life, physical life and spiritual life to people. And if you let go of the drashot, we see that Chazal say, "Or chayav mita b'dei adam, or chayav mita b'dei shamayim." The person is, can be is possible of death by the bedin or b'dei shamayim. So he says, "Shmor mitzvotai." When it comes to the mitzvot, guard and protect and keep the mitzvot. But not the mitzvot, the mitzvot with the drashot, right? Follow the minhagim, right? The way the Torah, the mitzvot were practiced and taught, and that's how you're going to live. Why? Because when you know the mitzvah, practically the way it should be, then you know the drasha, right? When you practice the tefillin, you know that tefillin have 4 batim, doesn't have 5 batim. So you'll know by that how to get to the drasha of Chachamim that learn that it's 4 batim and not 5. So to get to the drash, you need first to secure and apply the mitzvot properly. And my Torah should be like the pupil of your eyes. He says that's Torah shebe'al peh. So he says you have to keep my Torah shebe'al peh, because essentially the Torah shebe'al peh is what? It's halachot, it's dinim. So by learning the Torah shebe'al peh, you're reinforcing the mitzvot that you are taught. Right? So you're reinforcing the drashot that are applied in the action that you're doing in the mitzvot. Good?
Sorry, can you repeat the last part? You were by doing the action, you were reinforcing the action that.
No. When you do the action and you do it properly the way you were taught, the way you've seen, so you're applying the drasha, right? When you put tefillin, the way your avot put it, the way Chachamim put it, etc. So you're applying the drasha that the tefillin has four compartments and not more and not less. And when you learn the Torah shebe'al peh, right, now you are bringing light and ta'am to the drasha that is in your action, in the mitzvah. Yes? Good.
Yes.
So when it comes, so when we're talking about the pshat, first learn, master, and apply. When it comes to the drash, right? The drash, the power of the drash, the kiyum of the drash comes first from the action, because that's how you're mekayem the drash. But in order to understand the action, you need the Torah. You also obviously need the Torah shebe'al peh. פסוק ג' כאשר הם על אצבעותיך, tie them, bind them to your fingers, כותבם על לוח ליבך, write them on the tablet of your heart of your mind, of your heart. So says the Gaon, this is now referring to the remez. Remez is not something that's specifically written in the Torah, but it's something that's hinted in the Torah. So he says, the remez, things that are hinted require more mind skills. So it's more intellectual efforts, which means it's also easier for it to slip away and forget, because it's more intricate to get to it. You can get confused easier. So he says, practically speaking, if somebody is scared to forget something, yeah, he needs to do something and he's scared that he's going to forget to do it. What can he do to remind himself? He's going to do a sign on in a place that is in his sight, that he's going to see, he looks at all the time. And when you're going to see that thing, right, it's going to remind him that he that he has that thing that he needs to do. For example, if you need to remind yourself to do Asher Yatzar, or that you need to do Netilat Lulav, or you need to give tzedakah, right? So you're going to do you're going to do something, a siman. You're going to put a siman, a sign, yes. And when you're going to see that sign, it's going to remind you that you have to do what you have to do the mitzvah, whatever you need to do. It says now, if you learn something, and you also want to you want to remind yourself, so you're also going to give yourself Rashi Prakim. You're going to give yourself keywords and the keywords allow you to remember what you've learned. Like it says in the Midrash, Haya noten bahem simanim, right? In the Haggadah. You have siman, it allows you to refer to what you've learned. So he says the remez needs simanim. Something you learn that is intricate, that requires more analysis and ayun, have, whether it's in the action or in the limud, it should make sure that it has a siman. It says that's what it's mean. Kasherem al etzbe'otecha, right? Bind them in your fingers, meaning have the remez that you, the mitzvot that are the outcome of remazim, of your understanding of the mitzvot, the depth of the mitzvot, right? Make sure that they are tied, they are bind to your fingers, because your fingers is what's always in front of your sight, in front of your eyes, and they're never hidden. So they're accessible to you all the time. You can see it all the time, and you're reminded of it all the time. Write them on the tablet of your heart. He says, that's the limud Torah of the remez. He says, when you write something, you don't forget it. And when you make a siman that's in front of your face all the time, you also don't forget it. So the remazim, more than the derash and more than the peshat, need reminders. Your analysis, your iyun, if you want it to be fresh and you want it to be accessible, make sure that it's always in front of you with signs and point of references. And your iyun should be written. The fact that you can think about the iyun and think you know it is good, but that's not how you're going to be able to refer to it down the road. When you learn something in depth, write it down, and the fact that you write it down, it helps you remember it. And give it simanim, give it keywords. So once again, when it comes to remez, it has to be practical, and it's the practicality has also a dimension of limud, where both of them need simanim, points of references, whether it's through practical actions or through the ketiva, the writing, right, with keywords. Yes? So now we have the peshat, the derash, and the remez. Pasuk Dalet. Emor la-chokhmah achoti at. Say to the chokhmah, to the wisdom, you are my sister. Umoda la bina tikra, and call the bina my relative. He says the chokhmah, says the Gaon, is the Torah that you learn from your Rav. So the Torah of your Rav, the Torah that you receive, call it my sister. It means it should be with you, close to you, like the sister is to you. A sister will be your sister forever. She cannot change status. A sister is a sister. And the sister is the closest to you, right? As a relative, you have your parents, and then you have your sister, your brother and your sister. In this case, your sister is there's a proximity, there's a respect that you have for your sister, that you keep close to you and you protect. Right? The brother wants to protect the honor of the family, protects his sister. The brother is sensitive to the sister. He's kind with the sister, but he's also protective over the sister. It says that's the Torah that you receive from your Rav. Respect it, protect it, keep it close to you, keep an eye on it all the time. That's the Chokhmah. Because as we know, the Torah that you learn is Begedei Chokhmah, right? Is what you learn, is what you hear from your Rav, is the source of wisdom that you get from your Rav. Umoda la bina tikra, and call the bina my relative. What is bina? Bina is the ability to break down what you've learned, right, from your Rav, and compartmentalize every lesson and bring out from what you've learned new things, right? Lavin davar mitor davar. And that's not, you don't use the bina all the time. Chokhmah is there, so you absorb. Yeah, the chokhmah you absorb all the time. But the bina is a tool that you use after you absorb the chokhmah. So the bina is considered like a relative. A relative is not close to you all the time. And he says, la bina tikra, you will call. He says, call is it's to express, right, and verbalize something. When you call something, right, you're verbalizing a name. He says the bina is the power to verbalize what you have listened and learned from your Rav. Is being able to repeat what you've learned in your own way, with your own words, bringing clarity to what you've absorbed. That's what the bina helps you do. It says this is referring to the Sodot HaTorah. The Sodot of the Torah also have a limud and an application. In this case, when we're talking about the Sodot HaTorah, first you learn, and then you apply. The Sod, like the Pshat. So when you learn the Sodot HaTorah, we don't ask questions. First we receive, and we apply the Bina, our Bina, to master the understanding of what we receive. That's the approach to the soul, to the secrets of the Torah. First, we need to understand what we are taught. We have to absorb what we have to absorb what we have taught, then we have to understand what we are taught. And this applies also in the actions. We are taught how to do mitzvot al pi hasod, and we apply it. So if we recap, the pshat and the sod both start with the limud and the application and the mitzvot. Where the derash and the remez start with the mitzvot and after the limud, meaning through the limud you understand the mitzvah, but the mitzvah kicks in right away. Is what you receive. The particularity there is between the sod and the pshat, where you learn first and you're a receiver in the learning in order to implement the learning in practice, is that both are the beginning and the end and the beginning, right? Like the Gaon said, you learn the pshat and you get to the sod in order so that when you get in the sod you can go back to the pshat and understand that in the pshat there is the sod. And how do you get there? Is when you learn to raise all the way to the sod, and you get to the sod, and you can see in the sod the pshat. For that reason, the sod and the pshat both start with the learning and the receiving, and end the application and the mastering of the knowledge. This is how you go up the ladder of the pardes, the pshat, the drash, the remez, the sod, remez, sod, drash, and sod. And through that, if you apply properly this process, when you get to the sod, you will find the pshat. And when you get to the pshat, after you learn the sod, you realize that in the pshat that you've learned in the beginning, there was already all the sodot. And that's the full circle of the ladder of the Torah, of elevating yourself in the Torah, and then bringing it back down to its simplest form. והסולם מוצב ארצה, וראשו מגיע השמיימה, right? The ladder of wisdom, of Torah, of Avodat Hashem is anchored in the earth, and its top is going all the way to Shamayim. Malachei Elohim olim veyordim, and the malachim are going up and down. Zapshat. You start from the pshat going up, you get all the way up to the sod, olim veyordim, and then you go back down to the pshat. Here the Gaon gave us the priority of each step, of each facet, on whether it should be the effort should be first on the limud or on the action, because that's how you master it. You master each layer. Ben, Tov, בסדר? Any questions?
Hashem.
Tov.
Beautiful, thank you.
Bezrat Hashem. So we're going to start. We finished Pasuk Dalet. For example, Pasuk Dalet.